Hi, Julie Jules Cruise Companion. The most often question that I am asked is, what is my favourite cruise line? Then the second question I am asked is, how does somebody choose a cruise? So I'm going to go over some of my top thoughts about this. Being a serial cruiser, I have been on 39 cruises to date. I have another 6 booked and paid for the back end of 2022 and 2023. And of those cruises, I have been on 7 cruise lines. Let's see if I can get through them without having to get a prompter. NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line, RCI, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Carnival, P&O, Princess, Disney. Of that cruise lines, I have circumnavigated the world in pieces, not in one complete 103 or 109 day cruise. I have circumnavigated in bits, doing 3 or 4 transatlantics, only 1 trans-Pacific. I have only gone through the Panama Canal once and the Suez Canal once. I have done the Eastern Mediterranean and the Western Mediterranean, and I have, of course, out of Florida, Bahamas, Eastern Caribbean and Western Caribbean. Fabulous itineraries. No 2 itineraries are the same. I have done the same itinerary on different cruise lines and had a completely different experience. Everybody will have their own criteria of what makes their favourite cruise line. I am happy to cruise on any company, and there are ones that I have not yet cruised on that I am looking forward to. For example, Holland America, because they are coming to Australia again and bringing more ships. So that's going to open up the opportunity for more itineraries out of Australia. So even though my absolutely favourite ship is Norwegian Star, you would imagine that my favourite cruise line would be Norwegian, but I happen to have been on Star many times. Panama Canal, Mexico, so that was the Baja Peninsula. I have been on Star so many times. She holds a very special place in my heart. Then you may say, well, what is your next most travelled cruise company and cruise ship? Well, that would have had to been Princess, and that is on Sun Princess and Sea Princess. They have been fabulous as well. But no, they are not my absolute ultimate favourite cruise company. And coming to Australia in 2023 is my favourite cruise company. I have been on all of the 4 existing boats, and I have been on one of them twice. So I've done 5 itineraries on the 4 previously existing boats before they brought more boats online. And I am teasing, am I leaving it long enough? What cruise company is coming to Australia in 2023? And if you have show tunes running through your head and they all sound like Disney show tunes, it is Disney. My favourite cruise line so far that I have travelled on has been the Disney Cruise Line. It's not part of all the other larger amalgam of cruise companies. It's not under the umbrella of Carnival or Norwegian. It's a standalone company that has its own amazing boats. The 2 original boats were Wonder and Magic, and Wonder is coming down to Australia. They expanded their fleet to Fantasy and Dream, which were technologically far advanced. They are the most amazing boats, until I get on some of the new ones to be able to compare. But now my Australian cruise family can actually go on a Disney cruise out of Australia come December of 2023. So when they come down, they're doing 3 or 4 cruises out of Brisbane, few cruises out of Sydney, out of Melbourne, over to New Zealand. They're doing a test run to see how the logistics are going to be to get produce onto the boat, and how the waste, etc., can get off the boat, and how the logistics of using the cruise ports that we have here in Australia. So as an Australian, yes, It's going to be a higher price point that you might not be quite used to, but you are not having to travel to the States or to the Mediterranean to gain the magic of these wonderful boats. I wonder why they call them magic and wonder. It is a fantasy, a dream come true. That's why they're using all of those names as the names of the Disney cruise ships. So I understand that the price point in Australia is going to be a little more expensive for a Disney Cruise Line, but you are not going to have to put in international flights, international accommodation, etc., international travel insurance. Always travel with insurance. Do not leave home without it. So for the same cost point per night, which is about 500 Australian dollars for an inside cabin, you can have the Disney experience here in Australia. You've got for the whole year. For next year, you've got to pay it off by September if it's a December cruise. You can pay it off incrementally. I do not work for the Disney company. I do not get any kickbacks. But my favorite cruise company that I've been on so far has been Disney Cruise Line. The other thing that I promised to share with you today was how to choose a cruise. And I am always going to say, number one is itinerary. What is your bucket list? What is your favorite itinerary? What is the thing that is going to excite you the most? If you want to go around the world, if you want to go to some exotic places that you would not normally feel safe enough to go to, for example, Papua New Guinea. It's not necessarily a big tourist location, but it is a magical, wonderful, interesting, and fabulous place to visit. Doing it on a cruise is a very safe way of experiencing that amazing culture. Some of the other itineraries that are out of the way are the Arctic Circle, for example, or the Antarctic if you want to see the penguins. Itinerary is the major thing for one of the reasons why I would choose a cruise. If it's an out-of-the-way place that is going to be a little more expensive, like doing the Northern Lights, for example, or, the Arctic Circle, you budget. You plan for it in advance and you set yourself the little targets and goals so that you can have the itinerary of your dreams. My second consideration is the company. Do I know what the company's demographics are? Are they, for example, like Holland America or Cunard, aiming at an older, more sophisticated market? Are they like Carnival or P&O, where they are attracting large family groups and more of a fun time, having shorter itineraries where people don't have to take a lot of leave to attend and have a fabulous time on a cruise? Short cruises can often be booze cruises, but short cruises can often be comedy cruises and themed cruises as well, such as Pride. Just look at the different companies and what the demographics are for each of those companies. Do you not want to have children around? Is an adult-only cruise line the one for you? So go with Virgin. If you do have children and want children around, well, Disney Cruise Line may be the one for you if you can afford it. And then if the other amenities that you may want, water slides, go-karting, rock climbing, if shows are the thing for you, there is, water shows and stage shows, rock shows. Whatever the amenity is, research it and find out what is on all the different boats and which do you think would be most suitable for you. Some cruise lines will offer themed cruises, such as comedy cruises or pride cruises or rock the boat cruises. I can remember being out of Australia, out of Sydney. I think it was on Radiance or Rhapsody of the Sea, when I've done a couple of rock the boat cruises out of Australia. The initial one was absolutely fabulous. You could buy the drinks package. It had shows galore that would just rotate through. The first half of the cruise had one set of entertainers, and then they moved off the boat about halfway over in Vanuatu or Noumea, and then they brought in a whole new set of entertainers for the return journey. It was fabulous. But by the time I did rock the boat 5 or so, the reputation of the rock the boat had preceded it. It had attracted some interesting characters that did love the music, but also loved their alcohol, and they didn't necessarily behave themselves. So by the time I went on one of the later rock the boats, you couldn't have a drinks package on that cruise because people had misbehaved so much that by the time they got to Vanuatu or Noumea, they had to be taken off the boat by security and sent home. So part of the cruise experience was shaped by previous cruises and their poor behaviour. But Rock the Boat, Aria, the country and Western, the country cruise, themed cruise, are fabulous. They never discount. They're always booked out because they are so fabulous. So I have covered 2 ways of choosing your boat, looking at the itinerary and looking at the company. Then the next thing I'm going to say is looking at the price point. The cheapest cruise may not be the best cruise. If a cheap cruise is all you can afford and you want to cruise, go at it, Hoss. You do your thing. But don't use price point as your only guide on which cruise to go on. As I say, if you want a particular itinerary and it's a little expensive, like going to see the penguins down in Antarctica, you plan it, budget it, and go on it. Price point is important, but it should not be the most important decision-making process for you in your cruise experience. If there's a lot of people in your party, for example, and you're saving up to go on a cruise, potentially you could say to your family over the year, months and weeks before, if there's anniversaries, I don't want any gifts this year. If you can just give me that value in dollars and I will put it into my cruise fund. You can find alternative ways to fund how you go on your cruise. But please, 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 number 3 on my choices or on my thought processes on how to choose a cruise, price point would be about my 3rd. Let me know if these are similar to your thought processes or if I got it so wrong and you do things absolutely differently. So what is your favourite cruise line? Put a comment down below and let me know if my list compares to your list and what is your favourite itinerary. Stay safe, everybody, and happy travels.